Hi, this is Notes from Autumn, and today I'm going to be using social influence theory to examine how identifying as a part of a group influences our beliefs. If you were to have asked me to examine my beliefs during two different points in time, both during which I still identified as a Christian, my outlook on certain practices, attitudes, and behaviors would have been very different. I went from, at one point, thinking that evaluating one's actions as a way to measure their devotion to God was legalism, or something that the Pharisees would do, to, at a later time, believing that observing one's actions was the only way to discern authenticity or their intentions. I also went from thinking that Jesus was a key figure in the gender equality movement, giving examples like he hung out with prostitutes and appeared to women first after the resurrection, to believing that women should be submissive and modest, as per 1 Timothy 2, which references all the way back to Adam and Eve, citing that Adam was made first and Eve was the one who was deceived, as a way to give merit to these ideas. In both phases of my life, I was a regular reader of the Bible, but differently emphasized the importance or application of particular scriptures. At the time, I would have explained my newfound beliefs as God revealing truth to me. But what I didn't consider was that it wasn't God revealing a more accurate interpretation of Scripture. My devotion to God had not changed. The people I hung out with did. Informational influence is a term sociologists use to describe the phenomenon in which an individual is persuaded by the group around them, because it may appear as though the group has a greater understanding of the correct behavior in a given situation. Or it may seem more likely that the group's beliefs are correct because of the amount of examples given by group members to support a certain interpretation of events or information. So just like I conformed my beliefs subconsciously because I believed that people had a better understanding of the Bible than me, I'm sure likewise you can think of a few times that you conformed to a situation when you assumed that people knew something that you didn't. Since the dawn of humanity, organizing in groups has been integral to our survival. It has allowed us to give and take resources. If you help me when I'm struggling, I'm going to help you when you're struggling. It offered us more protection. And cooperation is essential for organizing. If the group is cohesive, it can accomplish goals better and faster. As this way of living progressed, we became hardwired for living as a part of a group, and our brains developed mechanisms for decision-making as a part of a group. An example of one of these hardwired mechanisms is self-esteem. You contribute something of value to the group praises you for it, reinforcing the behavior to ensure that you continue to benefit the group. Another example of this is social learning. So when you watch a child enter a new situation that they've never been in before, they will look at the group to understand what's the appropriate behavior for the situation and then mimic that behavior. But hardwired heuristics can lead to flawed reasoning as well, in examples like groupthink and group polarization. Groupthink is when a group conforms to ideas out of a desire for harmony over accuracy, and group polarization is a group becoming more extreme when biases are amplified by others with similar biases. So you all contribute anecdotes that confirm the beliefs that you already maintain. And I actually think earlier humans started to recognize these social influences, but just use different language in the Bible to describe them, like when they encouraged each other to have fellowship with like-minded individuals because they didn't want to turn away from their faith. While these heuristics have been helpful in our evolutionary history, we are now advancing towards using critical thinking skills, logic, looking at empirical evidence as a way to avoid harmful decision-making or flawed thinking. And I would actually love to discuss more about these tools in another video. But flawed reasoning that result in phenomena like groupthink or group polarization are not just malfunctions that only happen to religious people. These heuristics are just as present in the brains of skeptics, agnostics, humanists, and atheists alike. Just because we know the science doesn't mean we're immune to it. We may choose to stay in groups because they benefit our self-esteem, or choose to leave groups because they don't. And we might not always make decisions based on fact. We might bask in reflective glory when a member of our group accomplishes a great feat, or experience a threat to group identity when a member of our group does something that we don't approve of. Just like when I was a Christian, I would get embarrassed by the actions of other people who also identified as Christians if they did something that wasn't in line with what I thought a Christian should be. Last week, I got a message saying that I may not want to identify as an atheist because if I did something that other atheists didn't approve of, then I might get ostracized from my own group or attacked for saying something that others didn't agree with. But as long as my psychological mechanisms allow for it, I'm here to navigate these waters with you. Thank you for listening, and please consider subscribing.